So big news in the world of the Premier League. One of the, in my opinion, greats of the Premier League era, Kevin De Bruyne, announced on his own Twitter that he will be leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. First of all, I want to say I appreciate that he announced it himself. It didn't get leaked or like reported on by Fabrizio or any other reporter. He got to say it on his own terms. I actually really appreciate that for once. But yeah, he'll be leaving at the end of the season. I think he's out of contract, so we'll be on a free. But I think for a player of his legend, you just let him go out on his own terms. I think even if he wanted to say like extend for a 1 year contract, I think Man City would have also rewarded that because there's a certain level of respect there. But I have a lot of opinions on Kevin De Bruyne. Most positive, almost all positive. But before I go on my Glaze Fest, how does this feel for you, Alexi? Seeing, I know you're probably number one Man City hater, but
Amen.
what do you think about this one?
All I'm saying is the better midfielder is staying in the league and going to continue to fight, and that is Bruno Fernandes. But, Kevin De Bruyne's leaving, I will admit he left a mark on the league, left a huge legacy for Man City. If I can admit one thing, he was the key to their success. I don't think anything they achieved would have happened without having him perform the way he did. But I'm all here for the City downfall, so I'm very happy.
Okay, well, I'm glad you could at least admit that because that beginning to it was absolute blasphemy. No way in hell I'm gonna let you get off on this podcast that Bruno is better than KDB. But you know, we're here to celebrate a Premier League great. So I'm not gonna get baited into that. But yeah, Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, I was gonna list off all his accolades. Just honestly, too many to even count. But the most important ones here is that he has 6 Premier League titles to his name, and obviously they won the Champions League. He's part of a treble-winning team, a team that went 4 in a row with the Premier League as well. Just ridiculous. And obviously, I think 2-time Player of the Year winner in the Prem. He did great things before that with Wolfsburg. At one point in time, he was a Chelsea player and biggest fumble of the last decade for us. Uh, Other than maybe Mohamed Salah, who we also had at one point in time, but we're not going to talk about
I was
that.
about to say
Yeah.
the two
Yeah.
teams that have won the league pretty
Yeah.
much in recent
Imagine
history.
if we had both of them, bro. We would have been crazy. And then we got Conte, and I didn't want to get
Said
into
you
it,
got
but
Jadon Sancho, man.
okay. But yeah, something I just wanted to discuss about De Bruyne. I know we're going to talk a little bit about maybe his future, and we can save that for the end. But for his time in the league, for me, honestly, and I think this is something I want to get into with you. He's probably, and I will say there's bias. He's probably my number 2 all-time favorite player, but in the Premier League, I think he's the best player the Premier League has seen over the last decade. I think there's maybe some debate here and there, but I'd be hard pressed to say there's anyone definitively better than him over the last 10 years and he signed for City in 2015, so pretty much exactly 10 years that he's been in the Prem. I think there's some overlap with some other great players, but over that 10-year span, I probably have De Bruyne number 1 in the Prem. I also think he's the best creator the Prem has ever seen. For me, probably even the best midfielder the Prem has ever seen. I think obviously there's debates there for sure. Obviously Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, all these other people. I'd put Conte up there, but I think he's definitely top 3, and he's definitely the best attacking mid the Prem has ever seen, in my opinion. Because those other guys are more, they were playing more in 2 midfield systems, so it's a bit different. And Conte's obviously a defensive mid, but I don't know. For me, like you said, over this dominant City run, he is definitively the best player, the most important player. And I think people, even anyone who tries to undermine City or undermine or might not want to admit that, when they talk about Pep, they'll be like, "Oh, Pep had all these great players like De Bruyne and whatever, whoever else." Or if you talk about Holland, they'll say, oh, Haaland's good, but like he's only really that good when De Bruyne is giving him service. Like De Bruyne is the common denominator through all these things. So I think
Hmm.
it's hard to not give him the credit as like that guy for me anyway. But what do you think?
No, I mean, I really hate to be saying this and having this conversation, but the stats do not lie. The creativity has always been there, and I think also the past 10 years we've had some really interesting midfielders and some creative midfielders and ones who have left marks in their own ways, even if their teams haven't gone on to be successful. But it's the fact that he has been so consistent in City winning what they have that has really made him stand out. So even though I personally, Bruno's my number one, the team was not on that same level with Man U. So even with his level of talent and creativity, you can't carry. You can't carry. But De Bruyne had a team where they were capable enough with Pep's system to cook with what they had. So yeah, I unfortunately I do have I think it is a top three discussion, but I will leave a little footnote. Whenever we learn what these 115 charges plus are going to lead to with City and their legacy, that is going to also go directly to De Bruyne and his legacy.
I
Uh,
disagree. I
I I
disagree.
think I think like it's unfortunate. Like you won't be able to doubt his talent and performance, but there will always be that mark of you know how that talent was able to be used with a team like that.
I'd say for there are other players where I could see that argument. But I think because he was so instrumental and like even like beyond the stat, just like the eye test, like what he was doing on the field. Like this dude made Raheem Sterling. I hate when people say Raheem, but Raheem Sterling, a Premier League great. Just off of like his balls to that back post, where Raheem Sterling just has to be there and like let it hit his body and it'll go in. I think that is the most lethal ball I've ever seen. Like that KDB ball to the back post from the right side, and Raheem Sterling, a notably terrible finisher, has a lot of goals off of that. So I think someone like Sterling, where I'm like, I don't know, the Chargers. Then I could see that argument, but I think KDB, his like the fact that he put the team on his back, even a team that good in certain scenarios. Like I saw over the weekend, apparently he's like the Prem player with the most goals and assists in the Champions League knockout stages. Like that's crazy from a midfield. That's crazy. Like tied for the most man of the match awards in the Champions League with Xavi of all time, and he did it in fewer games. Like these kind of things. First of all, they don't happen to Prem players that often because usually when you're talking Champions League, you're talking about Barcelona and Real Madrid, and mainly Real Madrid. But De Bruyne, I think, was always on that level. And to me, like two 20 assist seasons also. And before that, I think he's the first player to do two 20 assist seasons. It's just things that have just never been done before. And I don't know. I don't know. I think further down the line, people are going to look back and appreciate him even more. I think even if the charges happen, I think because we're in the moment, like people want to look back and they'll say, "Oh, there's no way he touches Scholes, there's no way he touches Gerrard or Lampard or any of these players." But I think after time has appreciated him, he'll be up there. And I think even right now, a lot of people probably consider him up there. But I think with more time, he'll be more appreciated for what he did for the league because, especially with
Yeah,
the system football that we see these days, like creative players like him who are willing to play that final ball, I feel like they're less and less common. I feel like more players are just once they get in those areas, they're like, oh, I'll pass it back, and then we're just
yep,
passing around, try to find like some player just to make a mistake. Well, De Bruyne's paws aren't like they aren't just mistakes. Like he's putting them in areas where like the defenders and the keeper, there's nothing they can do about it. Like that's all on him versus like these days. Now that he's gone, like Foden's not replacing him. Like Foden's not that
Oh
guy.
no,
Foden's not
no.
replacing him.
That's a
I
whole
don't know.
other conversation.
Yeah, like, I don't know what like. I'm sure they're gonna go after like Florian Wirtz or something. But they're
I
gonna have
hope
to.
not. I don't want to see him at City.
Yeah, I feel like it would be too obvious. They've been talking about that for like 2 years. I feel like it'd be too
Yeah,
obvious at this point. But they need someone creative because like that system that they're doing, Foden's not the guy, bro. He's not. It's clear this season when De Bruyne has been injured, he hasn't stepped up. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they're gonna replace someone at that level.
Well, I think it kind of goes with the whole downfall of City that they've been going through this season. You know, I see. You know what? Hold on. Let me reset. Pep. From what I
Mm,
recall, he said this was going to be his last season, but then did he sign on for one more or did
yeah,
he
I think
renew
one or
his
two.
contract? It was something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like this season has almost been the proof of like, yo, bro, you should have just left after this. Like, you should not have signed on again. And I think with, like you said, Foden nowhere near De Bruyne, like not at all a
Yeah.
replacement. Already Pep is like winding down his career at City, whether he wants to or not. That's what's happening. I think it's gonna have to start to be a new project in a year or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially because like, I'm sure they'll still be a good team just because they have so much money and we'll see what happens with the Chargers. But it doesn't seem like
It's gonna
much
be
is
like
happening.
Liverpool, I feel like, where it gets
Yeah,
shaky for a bit, and then depending on either a new manager or the success of some new signings, they'll either maybe go the Liverpool route or the Chelsea route.
oh boy, I did not wish that on anyone. But or yeah, it's been rough. But I feel like City has now developed through having like the Pep era, and even before then, obviously had like the Yaya Torres, company, Aguero, and stuff.
Mhm.
But I think through the Pep era, they've established themselves to where even after Pep leaves, they're probably still going to go out and get like the most promising coach who's out there. I'm guessing. Like I think now it's become like a destination where a lot of coaches probably want to go play or want to go coach, especially now that I think Holland signed that what was it like
That
10-year
deal.
deal or something? It was something
Yeah.
crazy. Something crazy he signed in
Killing
January.
his career, man. Killing it.
Well, for him, I guess he said he's always been a City fan, which is crazy. But I think his
That's
dad played there or
insane
something.
cap. That's insane cap.
That's what he said. He said City is always his dream team. So
They don't exist, bro. Those people are NPCs. Nah.
it's hilarious.
And if that is the case, I it's a shame to me because I viewed him as someone who could almost be like Ronaldo or a hopefully Mbappe, what I see Mbappe being, which is a player who spends a couple years in one league, moves on to the next, dominates there,
Mm,
moves on to the next. Um, but I feel like I don't want to say he's complacent at City because it's not like he's just sitting there not doing anything. But
he still
I
scores
also
goals, yeah. But
like he still scores goals, but he's not living up to the Holland I remember people talking about earlier on, like when he was at Dortmund or when he first signed with City. Like there was
mm,
so much more hype there, and I feel like now he's kind of just there, like doing his thing, almost like a Harry Kane at Tottenham, where like he's
mm,
good, but like it's not leaving the most insane mark.
not like
Like
best in the
Harry
world.
Kane, yeah, like not people were hyping up Harry Kane like crazy. I always thought he was overhyped. Like still a very good striker, but I mean, look at him now. Like he's at Bayern and his first season there, they couldn't even win the league. So that's why I feel like when you're young and when you have that talent and that potential, you got to try the different leagues and really show you got it. I feel like that's the real indicator. You can still be a one league legend, but for me and just my personal appreciation, I appreciate when they can go around Europe and really showcase that it doesn't matter where they are. They're going to cook them.
That's interesting. I can appreciate that. I feel like you may be in the minority with that, I feel
I
like
very well could be. I very well could be.
I think most people agree with you until it comes to the Prem or La Liga. I feel like those are the two leagues. Well, not I shouldn't say La Liga, specifically playing for Madrid or Barcelona. I feel like those are the two or those are the two scenarios or three scenarios I should say where like people say, okay, that's your final destination. Like that's the proving ground to actually show like you're a top player versus playing
Hmm.
in like France or playing in Germany or whatever. And now that he's in the Prem, I feel like if you went to like France, even feels crazy to even say, but even if you went to like Italy, people wouldn't respect it the same way. Even though the Italian league's a great league, but I feel like there's just such a Prem bias that people wouldn't respect it the same way. But saying that, I will say, and this is maybe a whole nother discussion to have. I feel like a lot of the top talent in Europe isn't even in the Prem anymore, which is like I feel like maybe the in the early Messi, well, not early, I guess early 2010s Messi Ronaldo like peak era, it was
Hmm.
kind of like this as well. And then like I feel like a transition into the Prem having a lot of the top players once they started to like fade out.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
feel like now again, like the fact that La Liga has Mbappe, Vinny, Jude, Pedri, Yamal, like they can go on and on. Like obviously Madrid has like 10 more of those guys,
Rodrigo.
but it's like yeah, literally Rodrigo,
Can't forget about
Valverde,
him.
Camavinga, like all these crazy players.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously the Prem still have great players and like it's kind of spread out amongst the teams, but like the top players, I feel like are kind of all congregating in La Liga again, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
I feel like if you're a top player in the Prem, you got to show you can do it in La Liga.
Yeah, which is
And
crazy to say. Yeah,
personally, I also really appreciate when they can go to Serie A and do some stuff there as well.
yeah, Serie A
But
is underrated for
for
sure.
me, it's like La Liga is the top. Like if you're in La Liga and you're the best, like you're you mean Lamine Yamal or Vinny or an Mbappe, like at that point it's like, yeah, you know what? Like you don't have to leave. Like you're already at the pinnacle. But I think when you're in any other league, like it's good to maybe get one or two others on your belt.
Mm, yeah, and I guess Holland, to be fair to him, he already got the some of that, so maybe he does feel settled. Like, okay, I already tested out a bit,
But the
and
Bundesliga, at least back then, from what I remember at the time, it wasn't seen as like as competitive as it is now. I think. I don't know if it's because maybe just more people pay attention now.
mm,
What do you think?
uh, it's tough. I feel like I feel like it's still. I feel like because of that one Leverkusen season, it felt more like okay, maybe now this could be like an anyone can win it kind of league, but I feel like now it's just going back to the status quo this year. So it's hard to actually say how competitive it actually is. Um, yeah, that's interesting. But I guess Jude was also there. Jude was also there, and no one really was hating on Jude in the same way. We're like, oh, you're in what's it called, the Bundesliga. You got to go prove it somewhere else. And then obviously everyone knew Jude was going to be really good, but I feel like with strikers, that's always more of a thing where it's like
Oh yeah,
you
definitely,
have to go
definitely.
prove it in a better league.
Like when
Which is interesting.
even just this conversation, I am in my head thinking strikers. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
It was fair.
yeah.
I think that's generally a thing because like every league plays defense differently, especially like the Bundesliga is way more transitional, like up and down, which I think actually suits Holland's game a lot more. But
Hmm.
the Prem's a lot more physical, and I know a lot of people said Holland playing under Pep would be great for him in his early years, and I agree. Obviously, Pep's an amazing coach, but I think actually Pep's system doesn't, his current system especially doesn't suit Holland.
Hmm. And we
Um,
talked about this since his
yeah,
signing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't really suit Holland the way some others might, especially given that they've been struggling. The fact that I think it was the one game against Chelsea actually where he finally was like, "All right, screw it, we're just playing these long balls to Holland." I was like, that suits him way more, given the fact that your team is broken right now. And of course, everyone wants to do that against Chelsea, but the in general, I feel like we haven't really seen Holland unlocked, and obviously he's such a great striker that he's still I have to check the score, but I'm pretty sure he's still top of the league in scoring, despite being
He
injured right
might
now.
be.
I think he's out for the season, or at least out for a while. So he probably won't end up top scorer, but or maybe it's Salah. Maybe it's Salah at this point.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah. It's Salah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. But Holland's probably still. What position is he in? Do you know?
He's second at 21,
Okay, of
but
course.
Isak's
Yeah,
about to pass him.
yeah. And speaking of, you got Isak breathing down your neck, who to me he's proven to be the better all around striker.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and Holland's locked down with City, but then we might see someone like Isak go to a Barcelona, and then we're seeing then I think once you go to one of those two teams, you're considered the creme de la creme. So I think in the long run, people might end up saying, "Oh, Isak's actually," even if Holland goes on to score 30 goals every season for City and becomes the Premier League all-time top scorer. I think in real time, if Isak's doing it in La Liga for Barcelona
Mhm.
specifically, people are going to consider him the better striker, and I think that's just how those things end up going. So I can see part of where you're coming from, where committing to the Prem long term is kind of like, I don't know. I feel like right now it's kind of that.
It's not a death sentence, but it's like it's a I'm blanking on the word, but
It's which is crazy to say though. I don't know what word you're looking for, but because a lot of people consider the Prem to be the best league, and maybe in terms of maybe at a point in time it was, but now like the bottom of the Prem is terrible. It's so bad that
awful.
and
Awful.
sure we have like a top four race this year, but like the title's been decided for months. The relegation's been decided for months, and the middle's kind of just working itself out. Like we have a top four race, but it's not really that exciting. Like it doesn't seem like any of these teams are really trying that hard. Like this year, the Prem has honestly not been the best product. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes. This is a completely different discussion from the De Bruyne discussion, but I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like De Bruyne was a key member of the Prem being the best league in the world for like this kind of late 2010s, early 2020s period, and
Mhm.
also it having the best talent in the world because he was one of those players. Like he could have played for Madrid or Barcelona for sure. Like he's like of that level, but
Mhm.
in that period of time, the Prem had all those top players. It felt like. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes from here, but I think just to, I
Well,
guess, yeah, kind of wrap it up.
it could go to Miami. That is the latest.
Ooh, okay,
Um,
okay.
there have been rumors that he would be going to Saudi, but supposedly he is more keen on a move to MLS and to Miami. And it turns out, as of 3 hours ago, on Monday, April 7th at night, 10 p.m., 10:30. uh, Apparently Miami has the discovery rights, which I had no clue what those were. I've heard of them before. And after reading the definition, I think that's a stupid concept. Essentially, it means Miami has the exclusive right within the league to try and sign De Bruyne. So, like,
What?
Seattle couldn't try to sign him, or the New England Revolution couldn't try to, like, only Miami can try to sign him, which that might have to be one of the stupidest types of rights I've ever heard of
That's
in
crazy.
sports. That makes no sense.
And who, like, how does that even get set up? That's between Miami and De Bruyne specifically, or like Miami and City, or like what? Like, I don't even. Maybe you don't know.
So
I'm putting you on the
I'm
spot.
reading right now from MLS's website. Pursuant to the discovery process, clubs may scout and sign players who are not yet under contract to MLS and who are not subject to another assignment mechanism. To sign a player through the discovery process, the club must first place the player on its discovery list. And they can have up to five players on their list at any time and remove or add players to that list. So
Hmm.
that means I guess they can write down five different people. Like, let's say Holland was also on a free contract. They could write him down and no other MLS team could try to sign him.
Basically, it's like an official way of calling dibs.
Pre-order, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy concept. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, It looks like maybe he'll be going to Inter
And
Miami.
there is no limit to how many players a club can sign from its discovery list. So they could use up theoretically all five slots on like the top free players who are, 33 and over looking to move leagues to something a bit more calm. And they could just get all of them if they wanted, if they had the money.
Okay, now I see how Inter Miami is so stacked, bro.
That it
That's
makes a
crazy.
lot more sense. And also the whole David Beckham thing of, he probably knows a lot of these players
Yeah,
personally. It's like, they got a little bit of a monopoly going on.
yeah, it's some suspect activity. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm sure it's all within the lines, but it's just I don't know how any other team competes with that kind of pull.
And if De
Um,
Bruyne goes there, dude, like this Miami team, like it's already entertaining seeing the clips, but it's like it's almost going to be embarrassing for the rest of the league.
yeah.
Because I mean, I'm sorry, but MLS is just awful. Like it's terrible, dude. It feels amateur. I remember seeing a New York City FC game like 2 or 3 years ago, and I kid you not, it was a sunny day. It was like a spring, summer day, something like that. And the players slipped on the pitch like 4 different times and just fell flat on their face for no reason. Not doing any crazy moves, not getting, confused by a striker or a forward or a midfielder doing some trick on them. No, they literally were just like dribbling and slipped. Like, how does that happen at a pro level? So if we got a Miami team which is already going crazy with a De Bruyne and his creativity, I mean, it's going to be a joke. And how can we grow our own talent in the US if, you know, they get embarrassed week to week?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that itself is a whole own discussion too. I'm missing if there's any American player on that team. Hey man, just pad your stats. Just get on
Yeah.
that team and pad your stats, bro. And maybe you can get to the national team or something. Um, hey man, if the next time into Miami, well, if he actually signs there, next time they're playing New York City FC or the Red Bulls, I'm gonna have to go to a game, man. See De Bruyne in person. That's what I'll take
Good
from
luck,
it.
dude. Don't they sell the tickets for like a crazy fee?
Yeah, I
Or
remember
resell the tickets rather.
when Messi first came. I remember looking like I was looking at like all the
$1,000 something.
New York City FC tickets, and all of them were so cheap, for like $20 or something. And then the Messi
Mhm.
game was just like it was like hundreds of dollars. I was like, what the heck, bro?
Yeah.
But no, it's
Yeah.
been a few years now, so maybe I don't know. Hopefully, it kind of calmed down a bit, but I doubt it. So we'll see.
I hope so.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there we go. That's our De Bruyne discussion. Farewell to the legend. I know, City hater here, but even you can appreciate the legend, and we'll see what
Yeah.
ends up happening. We'll see where it ends up going. If goes to the MLS or Saudi, we will not be covering that again because we don't care. But good job for your career.